All right, thank you. For those who don't know me, my name is Brian Steel, B-R-I-A-N-S-T-E-E-L. I'm the Executive Vice President of Fraternal Order Police, Capital City Lodge 9. I appreciate you all coming out today. So we're here to talk about the body camera footage of last week's critical incident in Blendon Township that was just released. It was hard to watch, right? There's no getting around it. It is very, very difficult to watch. This is particularly true knowing that it ended with the loss of 2 lives. Now, young children will grow up without their mother. Those facts are indisputable, and they are heartbreaking. However, we cannot look at just the end result of this incident. We must look at the entire incident. Regardless of the emotions, all facts must be considered. Those facts include the actions Ms. Young took leading to this incident and should not be ignored. The fact is, Ms. Young was not shot for stealing alcohol. She was shot because following an aggravated robbery, she tried to run down a fellow human being. The fact is, there was previously an arrest for Ms. Young for a violation of protection order. Now, we'll never know for sure if her previous warrant, combined with her previous charges of theft and fleeing from the police, may have contributed to her refusal to get out of her Lexus and speak with the officer. The fact is, Ms. Young ignored repeated lawful orders to get out of the car. She was told more than 10 times to get out of the car. The fact is, had she simply complied with the police officer's instructions and get out of the car, she may have been arrested, maybe have done a day or 2 at most in jail. Instead, Ms. Young chose to accelerate her vehicle directly into the path of an officer, striking him and lifting him off the ground. The fact is, a car is a deadly weapon, can be used as a deadly weapon. We've had 3 officers struck and seriously injured by vehicles already this year. Now, I understand much of the public might be wondering, why even bother with allegations of shoplifting? There's no real punishment for here anyway in Franklin County, so why shouldn't the officer just let her go? Officers have a legal duty to act. They have a legal duty to act when they're alerted to a crime. But what happens when they allow her to flee? They don't act, and instead of hit an officer, she hits someone in that parking lot. How about if she hits a child? We just had a situation in Columbus a few weeks ago where the officers chose not to pursue a stolen car due to the risk it posed to the public. That individual still drove through a grassy picnic area, not even a street or parking lot, struck and killed a 4-year-old child. This incident occurred in a very busy parking lot at peak hours with multiple civilians throughout the parking lot. Police work is dangerous, and split-second decisions must be made. Officer makes a correct decision, he's hailed a hero. He makes the wrong decision, he's in prison or he's dead. Contrary to what some people think, the Fraternal Order Police, Capital City Lodge 9, we do not represent our members in criminal investigations. While we do have a legal obligation under state law to represent our members in administrative investigations and contractual issues, this does not extend to criminal investigations, which this case is. Our members pay for legal protection through a national insurance plan that determines coverage like any other insurance plans, and Fraternal Order Police does not play any role in that process or coverage determinations. This incident was tragic for everyone involved. Ms. Young's family, the officers involved, and their families. Now we must be patient. We have to wait for the investigation to be completed. Police officers have the same constitutional rights as any other citizen. They also have tremendous power and tremendous responsibility. With that responsibility and power comes accountability to those we're sworn to serve. However, police officers cannot be the only ones held accountable for their actions. Individuals reported for breaking the law must also be held accountable for their actions. The Columbus branch of the NAACP said it best last week in a 10 TV interview. When a police officer gives you a command, please follow the command. I'm going to repeat that. When an officer gives you a command, please follow that command. I beg of you, do not put our officers in a position where they have to use deadly force. On behalf of the 4,500 dedicated men and women of Capital City Lodge 9, our thoughts and prayers go out to all those families, that community impacted by this event. I can't offer much more than Chief Belford's statement and obviously a BCI investigation, but I will certainly try my best to stand and answer any questions.
Brian,
Yes.
I guess, I know not speaking necessarily to Blendon Township specifically, but was what you saw in the video with the action the officer took to step in front of the vehicle, is that what you would consider standard police conduct or policy?
Yeah, so we have different departments. I have different training that officer has. I'm in a different department that officer has. That officer stood in front of a parked vehicle. Some of the things I see online, why'd you get in front of a moving vehicle knowingly? It was not a moving vehicle, it was a parked vehicle, right? He walks up, first thing you do, you look for a tag, no rear tag. Naturally, I'm gonna walk up and I'm gonna look for a front tag. There was no tags on that vehicle.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Brian, a lot of community members right now, they want transparency. It's
Yeah.
something people ask for in any situation like this. With that department releasing redacted, edited video, with the Blendon Township Police Chief now never really talking to us person to person like you are, where does that transparency come into play here?
So I can tell you, there's nobody that calls for transparency more than Fraternal Order of Police. The day after that incident, I called for that video to be released. I made that clear. I think I spoke to some of you. I said, release that video. I understand Columbus has a policy usually within 24 hours. Be honest, it's a little easier in Columbus. You have a full team. Blendon Township is a smaller department. I'm assuming it takes a little more time. I doubt they have somebody, a full staff like Columbus has to do that. But again, we believe in transparency. We want transparency. That's also why the FOP is standing here today.
And if,
Brian, in the use of force continuum, do you think the officer should have fired his duty weapon in this situation?
So I can tell you, I was not in his shoes. I don't know what he was going for. Graham versus Connor, we look at the reasonableness. He fired one shot, immediately reholstered his weapon as his feet were lifted in the air. Outside looking in, based on my training and experience, from what I saw in that video, I believe it was, I understand why it could be justified, but again, I don't make that decision. Ultimately, a grand jury is going to make that decision. As you know, all cases go to the grand jury, and I'll wait for the experts to weigh in.
Brian, you kind of alluded to it a little bit that you've been working with the department to sort of get that transparency. I mean, have they been cooperative with you? Do you feel like they've been working alongside you?
Yes, so as much as they can, we're two different agencies, right? They're an agency, we're a police union that represents their officers. Myself and members of our executive board, we immediately went there. We go to the shootings, we're there as an officer support role. What can I do for you? What can I do for your family? Do your kids need a ride home, right? Just allowing them, just getting them a cup of coffee and decompressing. Nobody wants to pull a trigger. Nobody wants deadly force. Whether it's justified or not justified, it is a life-altering decision that the officer will carry him forever. I will tell you, the chief was very transparent with me. We sat down, I told him what I do. He kind of explained throughout the process what he was doing. This is the meetings we're gonna have. This is our attorneys we're gonna hire. A lot goes into this. So obviously he couldn't tell me directly about the case, nor can BCI, because I'm not involved in the investigation. But he was at least step by step letting me know, we're gonna release the video this day. I'm gonna go speak to the family, which we thought that was great that they spoke to the family.
Brian, can you talk about just the amount of officer-involved shootings we've had, not just in the city of Columbus or Blendon Township, but in the area in the last month or two?
Well, sure, as you know, I mean, if you look at stats, some of these stats don't lie. Arrests in the city of Columbus are down. Arrests are down about half that they were pre-2020, pre-riots, pre-imagining policing. As arrests went down, crime went up, right? When crime goes up, you're gonna have more criminals, more bold and more brazen to fire a shot at the officers.
Brian, I know you can't put yourself in that officer's shoes in that exact situation, but I think some community members see the video and say that vehicle isn't going that fast, is stepping in front, not stepping in front, but is shooting rather than moving the right call.
So I would imagine if the officer was able to move, he would have moved. Again, I can't speak for him, but I'm sure in his mind, I can only assume, he did not think he can get out of the way fast enough. But again, we will not know that until the investigation is completed, and we don't even know what was in his mind. He has not made a statement yet. So I don't want to put words in his mouth. Eventually, when it goes to the court, you'll know his statement and what he was thinking.
I know officers didn't know whether or not Ms. Young had a weapon with her, but you can see her hands on the wheel through the windshield most of the time throughout this body camera video.
Sure.
So, I mean, Lacey asked this, but why shoot if you can physically see the hands on the wheel?
Yeah, so a weapon is not just a firearm. A weapon is also a 2,000-pound vehicle that somebody puts in gear and is driving at you.
I guess, yeah, my question would be, actually I kind of lost my train of thought. Let's see your response here if I can get it back.
Sure.
What's the strategy of having former Sheriff Morgan break everything down? I mean, as you know, media members, we'll go to a former officer or go to you and say, hey, can you help us break this down? That way we can ask questions about the video. We're not given that opportunity in this to then give to our viewers, give to the community about what was going on behind the scenes. So what's that strategy all about?
So again, I don't know. That strategy would have been by Blendon Township, not the Fraternal Order Police. I did read the statement. I saw his breakdown. I think he did a very good job kind of breaking that down. But again, that is not a discussion that I would have had with Blendon.
What conversations have you had with either the officers involved or Ms. Young's family?
So I have not spoken to Ms. Young's family. I have no information on them other than what the chief told me. I spoke to the officers. Again, our role is what can we do for you? Do you need anything? Keep your head up. We'll get through this together.
Yeah, there's obviously probably been a lot of community criticism of Marcy's Law and how officers' names are being withheld.
Yep.
What is your thoughts, I guess, on sort of on how this is playing out in practice now that we've seen a couple instances?
Sure. So what I have here is the Marcy Law's fact sheet, and it speaks for itself. Marcy's Law of Ohio grants these basic constitutional rights to crime victims: the right to be treated with respect, fairness, and dignity. The key word there too is fairness. Just because you're a police officer, as I said, you don't all of a sudden not have rights. You do not have these Marcy Law rights. The officer was a victim of a crime in this, and Marcy Law applied it.
If everything in this video is, and what you were saying is true, if in fact they were, just in pulling their gun out, then why, in your opinion, is Blendon's chief not talking if he can back up that everything is okay?
So he cannot make that decision. Just like someone could look at a video and say, I don't like this. I can easily look at it and say, no, this appears to be justified. We're not the ones that make that decision. The investigators still have to investigate. You still need the officer's statement. Evidence has to be presented in a court of law, and then they have to make the determination, the grand jury, whether this was justified or not justified.
I guess what Kate's getting at a little bit is that I feel like Blendon Township is sort of refusing to engage with the public almost, except through controlled, video releases, statements, etc. And I know that you're not Blendon Township, you can't speak for Blendon Township,
Sure.
but I think that a lot of people really want to see that community engagement, even if it is talking to the media in person, because we have a lot of questions that obviously you can't answer, he might not be able to answer, but I think that the public really wants those questions to be asked of Blendon Township. And it's not necessarily a question, maybe just more some feedback, but
Sure. The public wants those answers, the community wants our answers, and our members who are members of this community, we want those answers too. Which is why, again, we believe in transparency. This is a transparency organization, a police union. We would also like to know those answers. We're just going to have to be patient.
As far as Sheriff Martin's analysis, was that something that, if you know, was that like scripted and then approved by him and the chief and other PR firms, or was that just strictly his analysis?
I do not know. I got that like most of you. I saw that when it came out just, about an hour ago. The importance was we wanted to have a chance to address you and talk about our side of this and our role in this. That's really the purpose of the meeting. Yeah, at the end of the day, justified or not justified, there's no winners here, right? If it comes out in court that the officer was justified, nobody wins. Lives were lost, families were impacted, and again, we are so incredibly sorry that this happened to everybody involved. Can I take any other questions?
I think I'm good. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you.